Welcome everyone to the United Church of Strafford, Vermont on this fifth Sunday of Easter. The Easter season celebrates the triumph of life over death, or over any inner or outer obstacles that threaten to deaden us. Easter proclaims a love that overcomes fear or greed or hate or any form of narrow self-interest. Jesus was constantly trying to get people to expand their vision of the circle embraced by the love of God. He brought in all those his society shut out. Eternal, unconditional, life giving love for all rose from his tomb. Our world today is caught up in the struggle between forces of life and death as threats to survival speed toward us, as racial, economic, and environmental injustice deaden the lives of a large percentage of the world. We know that a revolution of love must happen now in our generation. Yet many of us are not as youthful and energetic as we once were. Many of us are languishing or depressed. Many of us have family members in crisis. Many of us feel burned out or overwhelmed by global or local problems. So we need Easter's power of resurrected life and love. Easter is about the hope and joy that we feel in the healing light of God that can overcome the dark shadows that threaten us. Easter is about the tomb becoming a womb, finding a way where there was no way. So let us worship together, opening our hearts and minds wide to fill with the light. This is the first of two sermons on the subject of love groups versus hate groups. And I've told the story before that Danette really was. I have to thank Danette for giving me the concept of the love group. We were in a mission committee and trying to support the Southern Poverty Law Center in their work to track hate groups and just keep an eye on what they're doing in America. And Danette asked, "Where are the love groups?" And we realized we are a love group. So I'm going to be talking about what it means to be a love group in the today and next week. So the wisdom of our spiritual tradition says that all stories on earth are part of one story that unites us all. The 22nd Psalm says, "All the ends of the earth shall remember and turn to you, and all the families of the nations shall worship before you, for all realms belong to you, and you rule over the nations." Genesis has a similar vision. Genesis describes one spirit of the universe creating the heavens and the earth and all that lives. And this was a departure from what generally was thought in those days, that there were different gods. Everybody had their own god who had created their people. One spirit of the universe creating all. All humans are made from one blood, it says in that story, and science has confirmed that. We have tracked back 150,000 years to a common female ancestor of all humanity. She had dark African skin, but no matter what our skin color or nationality, humans are genetically 99.9% the same all over the world. In Japan and in Norway and in South Africa, everywhere, 99.9% the same. We are all part of the same story, the same earth, the same family of life descended, if you go all the way back from the first living cells, humans and trees, cousins. Jesus taught us to extend our love to all. And so does Valerie Kaur, a member of the Sikh religion whose people came to California from India over 100 years ago. Kaur has been a leading civil rights activist since the terrorist attacks of 9/11, when the first American hate crime the after 9/11, the first American hate crime of revenge was the murder of a close friend of her family, a Sikh who was standing outside his gas station in Arizona, just standing there, got gunned down. Valerie Kaur founded the Revolutionary Love Project, which follows the revolution of values, the beloved community that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Uh, preached about at the end of his life. She is following in that tradition of Gandhi and King and Mandela. And her Revolutionary Love Project embodies the Sikh saying, the saying of the founder of Sikhism, I see no stranger, I see no enemy. Jesus calls us to have that same vision of universal oneness. Yet, ironically, part of our oneness divides us because we all go through adolescence. At that developmental stage, our brains naturally see the world in terms of who is like me and who is different, who is inside my circle of love and who is out. James Fowler was a Methodist minister and a professor, a distinguished professor at Harvard and at Emory universities, who researched the developmental stages of faith that we go through from childhood to the end of our lives. And the faith that evolves as we approach adolescence is characterized by the rigid rules and judgments of fundamentalism, basically. It could be a progressive fundamentalism or a conservative one, but it's really fundamentalism in its structure. Ideally, the church would help adults progress beyond fundamentalism to the rational, the pluralistic, and finally the Christ-like stage of faith, where we see no stranger, we see no enemy, and we recognize our true oneness. Yet tragically, many churches get stuck in fundamentalism. Today, millions of people reject the church because they see it represented by the white supremacist Christian nationalists who stormed the United States Capitol waving Confederate and neo-Nazi flags. Millions see churches as hate groups that extend Christ's love only to those who believe and look like them. This is a huge problem, not only for the future of the church, but for the future of the world. Because we need more people practicing the revolutionary love for all of Christ and Sikhism and all religions that have the golden rule at their core. That love is our greatest hope to save life on earth and build a global civilization founded on justice, freedom, and equality. We need churches to be love groups, and we need churches that are love groups to overcome hate groups, as civil rights churches overcame segregationist churches with their love. We need to help society overcome whatever blocks our love of all humans and all the earth. Valerie Kaur has done extraordinary work on the front lines. She has learned much about this in her work against hate crimes, hate groups, and systemic hate. She has gained insights into what it really means to love our enemy. She sees how tending an opponent's wounds, like the Good Samaritan in the Bible, can open a door to healing and reconciliation like nothing else. I will talk more next week about how love groups can overcome hate groups. But today we have a more immediate problem to address, which is how can we as individuals in this difficult time become more effective instruments of God's love? One obstacle that many of us share is the psychological effect of a pandemic that has tripled the number of people experiencing anxiety and depression, according to a recent CDC Household Pulse survey. Elizabeth Abend is a human resources director at a chain of fitness boutiques. Her company has faced challenges similar to our church, including navigating uncertainty over when and how to reopen and pivoting to new digital services like this. Abed has also suffered personally, as some of us have, including loneliness, the death of her beloved dog, and the need, in her words, to be an adult human and pay bills and eat meals and all of that amid the exhaustion of having our entire world turned on its head. She says, so many things seem like so much more work than my brain can possibly manage. Languishing is the buzzword for the pandemic's psychological effect on us. Languishing, a lack of enthusiasm or energy that can lead to more serious depression. A New York Times article says that one of the best ways to break out of languishing is to attain the condition called flow, where you are fully absorbed and immersed in something that brings you joy to do. In spiritual terms, flow means mindfulness as we use our gifts in loving service. But we need to be honest about how hard it is to overcome what blocks us. Valerie Kaur has found that we need to extend love to our hurting selves before we can effectively love others who are hurting, including our enemies. She says this is something that Gandhi and King and Mandela did not talk much about, and she believes, it's her experience as a mother and as a woman that is actually helping her to have this insight. Now, she does not mean narcissistic self-love. She means self-acceptance and self-care as we struggle to fulfill our calling. The self-love that we need is to abide in the universal power of love that surrounds us and flows through us. Jesus said, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit. This is the spirit of the universe talking. The flow of creation that brought the earth into being. We have this spirit within us. And by opening to it, we heal and renew ourselves. We love ourselves. We heal and renew ourselves and allow the greatest force in the universe to flow through us. The first letter of John defines that force this way. God is love. And those who abide in love abide in God. And God abides in them. This is how we become instruments of love, who can join together to form love groups. We need to choose to be branches of the vine that is love. We need to choose moment by moment to abide in that love and let it abide in us and bring forth its fruit. Then we will be brave. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. Then we will serve the cause of justice. Those who love God must love their brothers and sisters also. That is how love groups overcome hate groups. The spirit of the universe that sees no stranger, that sees no enemy, does it through us. Prayer is how Jesus abided in God and love, and it is still the best way for us. So I invite you to listen to your heart now in silent prayer and open to the Spirit within you to guide and empower your love and the fruit you are being called to bear in your life now. Let us pray together in silence. Amen.